Videotaping. Okay, check this out. Quick impromptu video here today. It's been a little while. I know a lot of my friends and customers like to see how we do things behind the scenes. So I melted this chunk of gold today. I had some old scrap gold that I melted down. I cleaned up real nice, okay? And it's nice and thick. So not much I could do with it in this state right now. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna make different thicknesses of gold plate, so that I can make nameplates with it. I can use the size rings, and I'll like just keep a bunch of old scrap, plate in here, not scrap plate, but plate. And when I need to size a ring, I need to do certain work, I need plate. So this is what the plate looks like after I cut out some nameplates and whatnot. Just basically gets holes in it, but they're much thinner. So what I need to do is get the gold that thin. So from a thick piece of gold like this, what I do is I go to my mill, okay, and I open up the two rollers here. Can I get the rollers? See the rollers, they go up and down very slowly. See that? I can't hear you on the video, but basically it goes up and down. And what I do is I take the piece of gold and I insert it. I bring this down up until it just barely can pass, and I use good old-fashioned manpower, let's back it up, to roll the gold through. Okay, now what happens is it compresses and squeezes the gold very slightly every single time I pass it. And this is a process. So little by little, I keep rolling the gold in one direction. I turn this about a half a turn every single time. It just gives it a little bit more of a squeeze. Okay, it's good exercise too, so I could eat a nice hearty dinner today because I'm gonna burn all these calories. Okay, and I always want to make sure I keep passing it the same way. Otherwise, you know what happens? You guessed it. You ever see the top of like a Snapple bottle where you could like snap it, goes tuk, 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 tuk. Yeah. Well, that's what'll happen to the gold, and I don't need that to happen. That's not good. So that's what happens if I roll it in different directions. So I'm gonna give it a couple more passes, then I'm gonna pause the video. All right, I'm back. So just to show you where we are right now, if you look at the piece of gold, compared to where it was before, it's longer and it's getting flat. It's a little distorted. But what happens to the gold, the more we squeeze it and compress it and squeeze it, it gets very hard. So two things. It gets harder to roll it, all right? So I want to soften that up. And how we do that is called annealing. And annealing, depending on what kind of metal you're using, can do different things. What annealing is you heat it up really, really hot, and then you let it cool very slowly. Now with gold, what that's gonna do, don't mind the knocking noise, that's Carolina working. With gold, when you heat it up and you let it cool slowly, it softens up the gold. With other metals like iron or steel or something like that, it actually hardens it. So every metal is gonna react a little differently. So I change the tip to a nice big fat melting tip here and sharpen it up. And basically it's going to heat the gold so it's like red hot. And what you see me put on it before is called flux. And flux basically helps clean the gold, gets like oils off of it. I could make this hotter. Or a little too hot. There we go. And you can see it's gonna get really red, really hot. You see it's gonna start glowing red now. Little by little. Now I don't want to melt it. I do want to get it very hot. I want it just on that cusp of melting and staying stable. It's really, really hot. Did you see the red in the picture in the camera? See how hot that is? That's how hot I want it. Really hot, just like that, okay? Let me shut this off. Now I'm just gonna let it cool to a room temperature. I wouldn't recommend touching that right now. All right, so we're just gonna let it take a few minutes and you'll catch me rolling in another segment. And I'm rolling. So now the gold is a lot softer. It's a lot easier for me to roll it through, and I'll get about 15 passes before I gotta heat it up again. But before I do that, what Joe is gonna do, notice how I talk about myself in the third person. What Joe is gonna do is cut a slice of this gold out because I need thick plate. All right, a lot of times I got a nice big thick ring, or I need a thick piece of jewelry. So, you know, I do need different gauges. So before I roll it out super thin, what I'll do is I'll cut a piece off and then I'll continue rolling. So I'm gonna roll it one more time. And now, I'll sit down, I'll grab my handy dandy saw blade, and I'll cut about, I don't know, I don't need that much thick plate, so I'll cut about 3/4 of an inch. About right over here. There's no exact science to it. If I wanted to measure the thickness, I can. I could say, oh, it's 080 gauge or 070 gauge, and that basically feels like a 1/70th of an inch, but that's not important. I'm not going to bother you with that. So you see that blade? It's really, really thin, but it's going to cut and slice right through this chunk of gold.
Watch your fingers.
So every jeweler, when they started out, has sliced their fingers with this saw. And it's not life. Okay, and that happens a lot. The saw blade breaks. Because it's so thin, it's easy to break. And I wasn't paying attention. I was talking to the camera. So I'll just pop another one in. But as I was saying before the saw blade gave out on me, was every jeweler has sliced their finger with the saw blade, and that hurts, and it takes like forever to heal. It's just like gives a really smooth cut right through your buttery soft skin. So it cuts it relatively quick. If I put too much pressure, it'll just break the saw blade again. I just kind of take my time, let the saw blade do its work. Again. It's okay. It's a fun video. I'm having fun right now with all these different saw blades. This is fun. I hope you're having fun. Man, notice my eyes. Oh my God, my eyes are not what they used to be. I'll tell you that. Okay, so last saw blade. Well, it's not the last saw blade, but this should do it. There's little tricks I could do to make the saw blade last longer, put wax on it, etc. But what fun would that be? Then I wouldn't break any saw blades for the video. Okay, so see that? I sliced right through it. I'll just put this down now and I'll continue to roll plate. Now, the more I roll it, the faster it starts to go. So I wind up cutting it a little bit more often now. Exercise. All right, so you just saw me roll it 3 times, just to show you real quick. Did you get a video of that? See the difference already? So now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna cut that. I could use that plate. Let's keep our fingers crossed. The thinner the plate, the less likely that the saw blade breaks. So let's see if I can cut this whole thing without the saw blade breaking. we having fun on the video?
Yes.
Everybody paying attention? Good. There's going to be a quiz after this. Look, it's almost done. We're not breaking. I'm getting so good at this. Shit! Stop the video. I didn't break a saw blade just now. I was joking. It was a joke. Anyway, forget about that. Let's drop the subject. So now I have 2 plates, roughly the same size, with different thicknesses. And now, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna roll out some more.
Roll it.
Another little squeeze, and there we go. That's 1, and 2. And I'm gonna look again because I don't want to go too far. I don't want to go too thin. You see? I'm gonna do it again. See the difference? Okay, so now what? Get my saw blade again. And this time it's gonna go the whole way. Without breaking. I know there's probably gonna be some jewelers looking at the video. Probably have some comments to make about why I keep breaking the saw blades. It's all kind of fun for the video. I mean, how boring would it be if I did this whole thing without breaking the saw blade? But just to show you I could do it without breaking the saw blade, this saw blade is not going to break. I'm about 3/4 of the way down. If it breaks, look at this. Now, if you notice, it's cutting a lot quicker because the gold is a lot thinner. Yes. All right. Now, I have 3 size plates. You can see that. See? And I'm going to go probably a little bit thinner. Now I'm going to roll again. You say, Joe, how do you stay so fit? How do you stay so skinny? I make a lot of plate and a lot of wire. It's good exercise. Let's see where we are. 1 or 2 more. And I think I'm done. Let me leave it. Okay, so from that ingot, I now have 3 different thicknesses. Now the last 2 are kind of close. I think maybe I'm going to roll this one here one more time. Let's see. Again, I can measure it, but why do things that way? I like to do it my way. There you go. That's much better. See? Okay, and that's the video on how we make plate real quick. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you next time.